Are you okay?
Have we still got
Good evening, everybody. Well, welcome to the Real Local History Society last meeting of 2021. Quite a challenging year it's been for everybody. We have managed to produce a 2022 calendar. It's over there on the table. They're priced at £5 each. If you haven't got your pocket money with you tonight, we will be at the Farmers Market on the 11th of this month, and that starts at 9 o'clock in the morning. So the calendars will be there then. Other than that, there will be messages going out on Facebook and email, and it'll tell you where you can get them from if you haven't already got them, or if you want more even. So, I mean, don't stop at what you've got. You've got a few more to get rid of. They say crime doesn't pay. I was reading this morning that it was 26 years ago today that Nick Leeson, the Rowe trader who brought down Barings Bank, one of Britain's oldest merchant banks, was sentenced to 6.5 years. He served less than 4, then wrote a best-selling book, which was made into a film starring Ewan McGregor. Where did I go wrong? I went wrong because I can't turn the page. There are 2 pieces of paper here. Yeah, there we go. Now down to the important bit. Tonight we welcome back Gary Rowe as our speaker. You will remember Gary for his interesting alternative Titanic talk, complete with memorabilia. Tonight he is going to talk about the Queen's Hotel, Rill. As it is no longer standing, I am wondering what souvenirs he has collected from the building site. Ladies and gentlemen, Gary Rowe.
That was a souvenir I collected from the building site. You can laugh, but after this week, that was probably the only remaining piece of that amazing place. That's a tee-off restaurant from the front of it. In collaboration at the moment with the gentleman who's in charge of the site, and we're still hoping to find something a lot better. I would have possibly have had it by now, but we've moved our talk forward, and that's cut off a little bit of the time that I was hoping to do. Also, I haven't got half the pictures I wanted to put in here because I've been all over the site as well. But I've got the best I can, so I hope you'll put up with what I can do tonight for it. Okay. This is a talk about the haunting of the Queen's Hotel. Actually. Now, it might surprise some of you to know that there are still idiots like me in the world who investigate paranormal phenomena. And I'm one of them. In fact, I'm one of the world's most famous paranormal investigators. currently on the computer. My mind's going blank against old age. And they've just remade a programme about my most famous case, which is the Doddleston case. And at the moment, 1.5 million people have viewed it to now. So I'm expecting a load more emails, and goodness knows what coming in the future, but there you are. Right, why am I here talking about the Queen's Hotel? And why tonight? Well, tonight because obviously they're pulling the building down as I speak, brick by brick it's going, and when it's gone, it's finished forever. What's very sad is it's been pulled down at all, which is disgusting as far as I'm concerned. We built a tin shed down the road and called it a theatre, and we have the finest theatre in the whole of Europe in the town. It's an absolute disgrace to me. However, that's not the talk. How did I come into this? Well, strange things happen to me on a daily basis. I'm not joking. You won't believe it until you find out all about it, but there you go. I was first called to investigate the Queen's Hotel. Newly appointed directors, I'm going back, I don't know, 30 odd years now, okay? There was a man and a woman were appointed to be the directors, and they intended to open up the first floor as a restaurant above the Queen's Bar. And they'd had a bit of bother. I get a knock on the door, it's about 8:30, something like that at night. And this gentleman's there, and he virtually pleading. He said, you Mr. Rowe? I said, yes. He said, are you the guy that does ghosts and things? You know. What do you say to that? I said, yes, right. He said, well, we've got a problem. He said, we've taken over this place and we're going to open a restaurant. He said, so the lady director decided that at the top of the first flight of stairs, one of the bedrooms of the hotel would make an ideal office. So she set up camp there with all her typewriter and what have you in them days, and she was away. And the one evening he's downstairs working, and there's a tremendous scream, and she comes down the stairs 5 at a time, collapsed into his arms, and she was shaken and white, he said. So why is that? He said, she's on the landing at the top, and a man walked across, an old man walked across the water, and she said, oh, you can't come up here, it's and before she could say anything, he faded away in front of her eyes. Now, I'm not telling you this, this man is telling you. So he said, I'm not bothered about things like that myself. He said, I just thought you were mistaken. So I carried on working. I'm painting upstairs. I'm going to paint it, all the walls and everything. And it's going to be a restaurant. He said, except a week or so after that event, I'm up there painting away. He said, and this old man starts walking up in between these rooms, the corridor between the bedrooms in the hotel, towards me. When he gets about 10 foot away, I turn, suddenly I'm painting away, and I notice aware there's somebody there. He turns, and there he stood, you know, and he went to, exactly the same as the lady, went to say, well, you're not showing me up here, mate, you know, this isn't for the public or anything. And he faded away. He said, it didn't bother me very much, he said, but the lady director won't go upstairs at all now, we're going to carry on with the work, you know. Will you help? I said, well, come and have a look for you, and we'll go from there. So it was probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock, something like that at night, after we'd been talking, had a cup of tea and settled down, and I walked across from my house to the Queen's with him, and late at night we opened up the Queen's, and I went in there, and I walked up these stairs, wide staircase going up, and I got to the top of the stairs, and he said, I put the lights on. He said, you can't because it's never had electricity. Never had electricity up here, which surprised me. They had electricity in other parts, but he didn't have any up there. So I'm walking across. I didn't bring a torch or anything. I'm only going in there to look. Now, if I tell you all I wanted to do is feel to find out whether or not there was any phenomena there. 99% of all the places that are supposed to be haunted are not. I go there and there's nothing there. But I am a trained person in this. I've spent years and years. I've been doing this 70 years. And I can tell. If there's anything there, I can tell. So I'm walking across, away from the stairs coming up there. Right, I've got the stairs together and I'm walking across here. And I see all these bedroom doors open, ajar. And the light, the only light is the light from the promenade coming through the windows and through these rooms. So, watch what you're doing, he said, there's no floorboards in place. And I'm looking up, I'm looking down everywhere, you know. I'm not joking, it was quite, never mind the ghosts and things like that. It was scary because any minute now you were likely to plummet through the floor, you know. Anyway, I peeked into the first couple of rooms and the furniture was still in there. There's old wardrobes and beds and things. I'd been walking past this building every day for years, never realised that all them rooms up the top there, and them curtains that were up there, that, you know, which are ready to fall down on their own, actually existed, but it did. So, first thing I felt is that there is something there. What it was, I do not know, but I can tell when there is an atmosphere there, and I can feel it. And I'm walking across here, and I'm hoping that I will see something that will give me some indication of what it is I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm walking down there, and I said, well, I searched it, and I looked, and he wasn't there. He's still over on the top of the stairs, looking round the corner at me, yes, down, going like this. He's not bothered by it at all. He will not step off that top step at all. And then he told me, he said, we've had a bit of a scare when first, because we were employing security people to patrol at night through the building. He said, and we've had to get rid of 2 up to now, because they, both of them, we found, were not doing all the rooms up there. And when he questioned them about it, and the officer questioned about it, they said it's because the dog, this was using cutting an Alsatian or whatever it was, the dog won't go up there. It won't go down the corridor, it won't go off them. Once you get off them top stairs, it won't go anywhere. 2, not 1, 2 companies, and he got him and checked on it, and he was telling the truth. So he was worried to death because they got to have security there. It's part of the agreement, I suppose, that they're under. So that was the start of it. I didn't see the ghost or anything like that, but I knew that there was one there. I couldn't tell you what it was, but I could feel it all the time. And the further I moved down the building, the more I felt that there was something going on there. So I said to him, right, this is what we're going to do. I will come back with my equipment and so on, which may surprise you, some of the things I use. We'll come back with my equipment and I will do this job in the daylight. I mean, all these people, they go ghost hunting at night, they can't see what they're doing, they can't see what's happening, they're idiots, complete idiots. Time to go ghost hunting in the bright sunshine, when you see what you're doing. The ghost doesn't know whether it's day or night, and by the way, they are not dead people. This is not a talk on the supernatural, but I'd better tell you just the basics of it. Ghosts are not dead people, they're simply recordings, images. They may speak, you may hear them. You cannot talk to them, they can't hear you. They're just images. And I know I've seen loads of them. Take my word for it. Okay, so there's nothing to fear from it, except fear itself. One of the things that does happen to you when you're in the presence of anything like that is that you go very cold. You suddenly feel a drop in temperature. It's only a small one. When you measure it, it's 1 or 2 degrees the most. Absolutely amazing if it went 2. But it's enough when it happens suddenly, you know, that when you get a sudden chill, you know, this is what makes you go like this funny feeling you get. It's actually, you just suddenly feel cold. And the reason for that is, like all through science, and it's science, never mind hocus pocus, it's science. What is happening is temperature is part of the energy. Nothing can work without energy. We all agree on that, don't we? You can't get something to work on nothing. And what is happening is one of the energies that's being used is a conversion of heat for some reason. Never been explained. We're still working on it. But anyway, that's it. So nothing could have been prepared me for what I saw that night. It was amazing. I couldn't wait to get back there. I thought this is going to be really good and very interesting. And he told me I'm going to have the place to myself to be able to go and, you know, and do my work. Never happened. I don't know whether it was their experiences, and the other lady perhaps, but they were gone. And I'm trying to find out where but anyway, they were gone. And after that, I never got the chance to go back and investigate it. But there's more to come in a minute. Right, so I got all my gear ready. Sadly, it wasn't used on that occasion. But I was so intrigued at all these rooms that I've been walking past on a daily basis, curtains up, and all these rooms that I knew nothing about. 2 floors above of bedrooms and rooms, and you know, why isn't it being used? I couldn't get my head around it at all. So I started to look into it, and let's hope this all works. This is what it looked like in 1981. I think I've got a... Yeah. As you can see, this is the Queen's Hotel, all of this. This was known as the Bistro, that's gone as well. That's Woolworths, as it was at the time. And this is the High Street by there. Okay? This is a close-up of the part of it at the end. And as you can see, there are these pieces at the top, and in there were portraits of Queen Victoria and the like. It was a very, very...
We can't see it.
Sorry.
That's
Okay.
it. Oh, thank you, yes.
Right, in the top of there, round Goldsmith, pictures of Queen Victoria in. There's another view. Right, but to find out more about it, we need to go back in time a bit, don't we? So here we are, back in 1892. This is the parade, West Parade in 1892. The Queen's is right down the far end there, and the traffic, you can see this, you can hardly see the road for traffic. Now when we get a closer look, there's the Queen's. You'll notice it's got this fantastic tower on the top of it. You're probably wondering why that isn't there when, you know, in recent times. Well, you'll find out in a minute. That's a better view of it. Some fantastic pictures in this set. Look at the dress of the people there. It's quite a high tower, as you can see. This was known as the Queen's Palace. This is the Queen's Hotel. It's a bit complicated. The end part here was the Queen's Bar. Later a cafe. And then you have the Queen's Restaurant, this part here. But all these up here are bedrooms for the guests. And there they all were, with all the furniture, right up until they started pulling this down. Incredible. It also had this beautiful wrought ironwork balcony all across. Now when I first moved up to Will in 1979, that was still in place then. Some of you may still remember it. Can you remember it? I think this wrought ironwork started to pack in a bit, and in the end they made their own wrought ironwork, which looked like some kid had made it out of the Carner family, but but that was it. You can see it says palace around the rim there, the turret at the top. Rowe, when it was in its prime, hosted thousands of people, absolutely thousands. And if you can see from the amount of people that are outside the Queen's on this occasion, it gives some idea. Even when I was a child and used to come here, you'd have a job to get on the prom some days. There was that many people about, it was incredible. And a great big notice at the end of it saying, "Real Children's Paradise." Can anybody remember that?
Yeah.
And it was a paradise for children to come on holiday. I lived in Staffordshire and came to my aunt's house here in Rill for holidays, and it was absolutely a thrill to come here because there was that much to do. You couldn't put your finger anywhere down that prom in between something to do. Skating, rings, oh, incredible place. There's a view of it, and there's a space there for a band, of which they have plenty. As you can see, that's 1906. Now, I can't get all these pictures in date order accurately because we can't accurately date some of the pictures, so you'll have to use your imagination. This is a lovely view, isn't it? See the little girl, it's beautiful. But if you look carefully, you might just see there's a child here in a pedal effort, which is a train. Pedaling a little train. And again, magnificent view there of the Queen's Hotel and so on and the prom. This was the bandstand opposite the Queen's. The Queen's. Here's a bandstand. Again, I'm not sure of the date. Can you see past me when I'm over there? Some fantastic pictures in this series. Look at the costumes that people are there. Can you see from there?
Yeah, if you go right behind the screen.
You have to change his habit to a coaster.
See the costumes, absolutely beautiful, aren't they? Now if you look very carefully, you may just see, I don't know how clear this is from where you're sitting, this is quite a long way for that little projector, but there's a gentleman there on a ladder entertaining this crowd, and what he's got is a ventriloquist dummy. Dummy in front of him, and he's obviously working it. I don't think this is function duty, but certainly one of the entertainments that went on there. That's a full view of it. We've got a better view now of the. Notice this building on the end, which became the bistro after it's all knocked down and rebuilt. The high street didn't exist as such on the end by there. It was only a sort of laneway for the coach and horses, because at the back of it were stables for the guests to come and arrive in their coaches. This is the Queen's Arcade. Now this is quite amazing in itself, because there are shops on both sides of the arcade. There are shops, and in the middle is a fountain. I'm still going to, I'm sure that fountain exists somewhere, but I haven't had a chance to look into it yet. But it's somewhere, that fountain. There's a big fountain. This was a focal point, you know, I'll see you tonight, darling, by the fountain, you know, the kind of thing. It was somewhere of reference, and people used to meet by this fountain.
It used to be the clock on the promenade. Yes. It used to be a clock on the promenade.
Correct. But this is probably the jewel. This is the ballroom to the Queen's Hotel. Now, in the ceiling here were oil paintings. magnificent classical paintings all in the ceiling. Fantastic lighting, and both sides were balconies, as you can see. And of course the dance floor here, here's the orchestra and the stage. We go and build a tin box for a theatre, and we've got this. Just bear with me, I'm going to try and catch up with some of this.
Is this where the market was?
Yes,
Where
this was, until just a couple of weeks ago, real indoor market.
That veranda was still there, wasn't it?
Yes. This ballroom was reputed to be the biggest in Britain, if not the world. It accommodated 2,000 couples, this room. The dance floor was one of the finest. The floor was supported by no less than 2,500 springs. This is another view of it. But you can see perhaps better the ornamental stuff on the sides of the balconies. All of it was beautifully done. Some of the pictures aren't that clever, but this is all we've got. It's very sad that the so-called museum in Rowe has not attempted to get anything for it from this. 200 years of fairground, they haven't got a single thing in there that represents Ocean Beach. 100 and odd years of this most amazing ballroom in the whole of Europe. They haven't got a fragment of anything on that. And tomorrow when it's gone, you'll be down to my pictures. Very sad to me. This is a better view of the central dome. It housed a zoo in there. It was a zoo. And the most popular part of it was the monkey house. On top of the dome, right there, was a small tower from which you could see Snowdon, the Isle of Man, and on a clear day, the hills of Ireland. So that was a bit of a tourist thing, you know, would you dare to go right up to the top of the thing? There was a balcony around the top of that, and you could get up there, and 3 or 4 of you could go around there, if you were brave enough, not me I'm afraid, and you could probably see Ireland. I've got a job to see the computer from here, so I don't know how to sort Ireland from that. There you are. There were a number of sideshows, such as an Ashanti village, complete with natives living in grass huts. Part of the entertainment when you went there. Bear in mind that South Africa was very much in the public mind after the South African War. So there was no documentaries on telly showing you what people were like living out in grass huts in Africa. And so this was quite a novelty, an experience for people to see what a bit of Africa was like here in Rowe. Massive glass roof, all the way from a promenade practically to Sussex Street. Very, very long. That's a better shot. This is really pleasant. You could stroll down here and servants would bring you a cup of tea as you sat amongst the plants. There was also the wild man from Borneo. I'm not quite sure what he did, but the star of the exhibits was definitely Sacho, the fasting man. So we had this guy sat there, right, who didn't eat, and he just sat there. People came on just to take the mick out of him, I suppose. Eventually he was summoned for not paying for the meal supplied to him secretly by a local caterer. During his 40 days fast. Now, below the ground level there was a small lake. When you say small, it was was a lot bigger than I thought it was. And it was designed to look like a Venetian scene, complete with gondolas. This is the only picture that there is of it. There were arches. As you came down steps and you got onto a gondola, by the way, there were real gondoliers. There were real Venetian gondolas. And these people navigated you around this waterway, which is quite considerable actually. And all this was painted, not as you can see any of it here, but with Venetian scenes. So it was like actually travelling to Venice. You were on this gondola, perhaps with your young lady, across to somebody else's young lady, but you were on the gondola, and as you went round there, you saw all these lovely pictures depicted, and you sailed round in the still and quiet beneath the building. Not only are the walls of the building adorned at great expense with faithful, this is their own advert, not only are the walls of the buildings adorned at great expense with faithful likenesses of present-day Venetian scenes, but even the 8 double arches that span the walled-in water on which real gondolas propelled by Italians are treated in a style that should satisfy even the most fastidious tastes. Gondolas take visitors around the canals and in and out of the arches in truly Venetian fashions. Even the ceiling is star-spangled, so that at night, when 100 electric lamps are aglow, it is a delight to contemplate. Remember, electricity was quite a new thing, and to have electric lights in this building in parts was quite a novelty for a lot of people coming on holiday and seeing them for the first time, believe it or not. Admission to this unique attraction was a mere 2 pence, two pennies, the old money, and an extra 1 penny if you wanted a trip on the gondola. You could go down and have a look at it for 2 pennies, or you can go on the gondola as well for threepence altogether and go for a ride around. What a fantastic attraction. Now, I've been in consultation with the gentleman who's in charge of the current demolition on there, and he assures me that they can find no trace whatever of this feature anymore. So whether it was at one time filled in or not, we don't know, but he's assured me that there'll be a bell in our house ringing like mad if they find any of it, but it is unlikely, because they were most concerned that these heavy duty diggers that they're using on there might go through something, you know. So, but they can't find any trace of it. But it definitely did exist, by the way, despite what other people have said. Now, in Sussex Street, which is the back of the Queen's Hotel, right, there was this facade, which was the Queen's Hotel's swimming baths. So they had their own baths for the hotel, and it says there, Russian vapour, and it's 75 foot long, the swimming pool, right, and it's filled with real seawater which is heated. So like quite some baths, isn't it? Heated seawater. I mean, you could probably float in that if you couldn't swim, you should imagine, which is amazing. This is what it looked like inside. You had gentlemen's changing rooms all this side, and the same the other side, ladies' changing rooms. And fountains, as you can see, going into the water here. 75 foot long bath, it's not bad. How long, does anybody know how long the swimming baths are for the... No? Right.
15 meters.
The building, this building, still remains, but it's been greatly modified. Obviously, that pool was filled in, and it later became the Queen's Market. And all they did, they put a full ceiling across from the level of these changing rooms, right the way across, so you couldn't see this. Same with that ballroom. That ballroom, all that wonderful ceiling was still there. When there were some missing tiles, I went down in there, and I had a look one day with a flashlight. Absolutely amazing, that ceiling in there. It's absolutely, I can't describe it, it's amazing. And this fantastic colour picture, you can see this lady's about to swing on across the water on the road. But all on here, it's not doing it justice, this, I'm sorry ladies and gentlemen, it really needs to be a lot better. But there's people here in costume and what have you. There's ladies here with a full dress and all the rest of it on in the swimming pools. But that's it. That end was Sussex Street. Then, what happened to it, you may say? Well, to start with, there were stables, by the way, and smoke saloons, extensive gardens and other features, and it's amounted to one of the most fantastic attractions that have ever been built in Wales. Now, I know quite a bit about the Queen's Market area, because my wife had Chris's sweet stall that faced the entrance. Can anybody remember that? As you walked in, there was a little sweet kiosk. And she had that for one season, so while what was going on, I had a chance to see quite a bit. There were some good friends there. However, a fire broke out, as you can see from all the smoke, where the dome is, and it was really bad. If these pictures were any good, you'd be able to see there's a ladder here and a fireman on it. There's a crowd of people gathered here. You see that roof's already gone. And it's still smoke and billowing away there. That was the destruction when it settled down. Quite something, isn't it? Can you see that? Sorry.
19. What year was that going?
What's the president? Right. But there's more.
What year was that, please?
1907.
1907.
Right. This is the Queen's Arcade. After the aftermath of the fire, you can still see a lot of debris. That's a promenade end, by the way. And if you could see it, you're on hiding to nothing in the back of there. If you could see it, you would actually see Tudor houses. Both sides of this arcade, rows of Tudor houses that were shops, retail outlets. But it's like walking into a Tudor village. So that in itself was a fantastic attraction. And in the foreground there, you can just see the top of the fountain. It's there. So absolutely, you know, an entertainment in its own right. And you walk up and go look around these lovely. Now this is some of the plans I managed to get of the area. You can't even see it yourself, really. That area there is the Queen's Hotel. This is the High Street here. This is the promenade. There's another plan bit. But this one's the most interesting. See if I can improve on that a little bit. Right. This is a mystery in its own right. A total mystery. Because it's got the Queen's Arcade here, right, and the ballroom here in the front. And you and I know that that area there was the market, but was also the ballroom, because it still had the ballroom ceiling in it. What gets me about this is their own plans. I've been absolutely mystified as to what's going on here. But it's an accurate plan that tells you all about it as well. But you will notice, if you look carefully, a green arrow that I've drawn on the top there. Can anybody see that? Yeah. Right. Well, that actually says, I'll tell you in a second what it says, but I get a phone call one day, and the lady's on the phone. She said, "Are you Gary Rowe?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Are you the man that investigates ghosts?" And I, "Yes, I am, really. Would I come and help them?" I said, "Well, yes, what's the problem?" I said, "Well, I'll tell you when we get there." So I went to a lock-up shop in the high street, which was right there. And when I got there were two ladies working in there. And the one lady said to me, she said, "We don't want anybody to know that we've asked you to come, because the owners, you know, they're working for somebody, the owners would find them another job. But we're really bothered because we come in the morning and we start putting the things out before any of the customers come in, you know, getting ready for opening, and somebody's smoking cigars in here. Now this is a lock-up shop, okay, so you go through the front door, you don't go in there. It's as simple as that. It's not joined or open to anywhere else, just a lock-up premises, but a strong smell of cigars. So how much? Well, bad enough she's got to go and stand outside for 4 or 5 minutes to get over it. And then it goes completely. And then another time, when you're not expecting it, it comes back on its own, and it gets stronger and stronger and stronger until in the end it's really very difficult. We've had customers come in, and halfway through looking at the goods in there, I've said, "What's that, you know, who smokes cigars?" And they, "Well, nobody." So what's strange is 5 or 6 years after I've been there to investigate this problem for these ladies, and I got this map, it turns out that is the Queen's smoke room. Now I'm not telling you that it's because it was a smoke, you know, I can't tell you that, that would be nonsense. But what a coincidence that it just, you know, it made me sit up straight when I saw it. I thought, hang on a minute, that's exactly where it was. Bringing back to more modern times, this is the Queen's, sort of, not quite, but just after I first went there. And as I said, all those bedrooms up there, the curtains up, wardrobes in them, and old beds, and it staggered me. And this became the Queen's Cafe here, but at one time this was where it was there.
See that pipe there, the grey pipe in the left?
Yeah.
Stuff behind it is a bit of a hoarding, and that's Queen's, Q-U-E, it's part of the sign.
I think I've seen that.
It was there for years, but it's
Yeah.
gone now.
You're right.
Back to it.
Now we're in Sussex Street again. This is known as the Queen's Chambers. It's got says so over the top, by the way. That's a bottom entrance to the ballroom, the Queen's. And these rooms up here were the offices of the people that owned the property. Now, I went there one day to ask some questions, and a very nice lady in there helped me with my inquiries, and I was able to gain quite a bit of information on stuff which I brought to show you, if I can show you afterwards. So I think that was helpful. That was the entrance to it. Now, good news is, although they scaffolded all this up ready for demolition, this is not, I'm told, going to be destroyed. I believe it's going to remain, this end portion. So it remains to be seen, but at the moment, everything just 10 foot from what that you see there is gone completely. It's absolutely ground level, but all this facade is still there, and I think it's going to remain. This was the entrance, and you get an idea of the opulence of this place in its heyday. Look at the ceiling just in this entranceway. Beautiful stucco work, or whatever it's called, but it's very, very pretty. I did try to take some pictures, but there we go. Can anybody see that at all? This was in the ballroom, and behind that false ceiling was that wonderful one we saw earlier, and above these shops was the balcony both sides, where people sat to watch these shows. This wonderful floor, with its thousands of springs, was still a really good floor. And at one point, by the way, according to that plan I showed you earlier, was a roller skating rink. So it's done quite a bit of service one way or another, hasn't it? This is how it's going now, or how it was going then, as you can see. Or you can't see. Am I okay for standing? You're saying, well, I worked this. Can you see round me for a minute? I've tried to go there and take pictures every other week, you know, so that you capture it as it disappears. Remember, that used to be a nightclub where the small windows are. So 6th Street again. And now, that is the roof that I think was the ballroom. Or part of the roof that was the ballroom. All the centres come down. That was the bistro, by the way, where you see these tiles. It doesn't take them long with this machine they've got here to pull a wall down. But I noticed they're sorting all the bricks out. I think there's a lot of antique bricks in there. So they've got people that they've employed just collecting good bricks and putting them into a thing so that they can be picked up and taken. So somewhere or other, there's going to be a piece of the Queen's. It's nice to think it'll be somewhere else. Now, that was the entrance to the Queen's Market. And if you went there now, and this was still here last time I saw, I think it was the day before yesterday, just this little bit is still up, and it was the only bit that was up. Right? You'll see the T of Market was right by there. You may laugh and say, what on earth was he wanting my wife? When I turned up with that, put that in the bin.
That's the sort of thing I collect that.
But, daft as it is, that is all we've got left of this absolutely amazing place. That is it. I'm still hopeful that I may get some more. I've been promised that if we can find anything that's more, you know, to do with the Queen sort of thing, that I will get this phone call, which I haven't yet.
What's happened to the big queue?
It's still there. Or it was a day before, not like that, it's a crumpled mess, but it was still there. I wanted the queue off there, but unfortunately it's this queue, this is too big. I mean, it's about, I don't know, 4 foot high, that. It's deceiving, it's quite big. If my wife saw that, that'd be the end of it altogether. But even that T is quite large when you get it down, as you can see. I wanted the queue, but that's already been destroyed. I mean, that digger thing, when you put that on the wall, it doesn't care what's underneath it. That's it. It's gone. This was entrance to the Queen's Arcade from the promenade end. These walls didn't exist like that, of course. They've been filled in. There was fashion shops and goodness knows what here. And at one time, there was a nightclub upstairs, the next floor, off this wall here, owned by Chris Williams. And it was famous because it had a brilliant white carpet all the way up, which was a strange thing to choose as an entrance. But it was a gift, but it was a very successful one. It was the first thing I ever said, oh my God, look at that.
Oh, right, yes.
That's looking from the promenade down. What it does do, it gives you some idea of the sheer size of what was the hotel. The hotel was both sides of this the palace and hotels both sides of this, and it went back a tremendous way. I'm not making any sense, by the way. It's very hard to explain. This is in the ballroom, or was in the ballroom, and this was the staircase, short staircase, that led to the balconies both sides of the ballroom. You can see the false ceiling in it. These were market traders here, shops. But these steps, both sides, led you up onto the balconies where you could sit and watch the orchestra play. You've got a better view there, you see the steps now going up, up to the balconies. But this is how I prefer to remember it. In its heyday, like this. Now what I'm going to do now, very briefly, I'm going to read you their own advertising. This is what they got people to come to Rill with. And this is dated 1903. The premier place of entertainment in Rill and indeed North Wales is undoubtedly the Queen's Palace, a block of building which comprises a ballroom, a theatre, a hotel, cafes, roof gardens, waxworks, electric lift. The electric lift. People actually came to see the electric lift. We laugh now, but
I thought you didn't have electric in the bedroom, did you?
well, people didn't have electric in their homes. I can remember my grandmother had gas lights with mantles on it at one time when I was a little child. There we are. It also had Venice, as it was called, and an arcade. The company's property fronts the West Promenade, is in the centre of the town, and occupies a unique position on the seafront of this rising and prosperous watering place. The ballroom is a venerable palace in itself. It is fitted up in the most luxurious fashion possible and is equal in magnificence to any provincial theatre. It possesses a magnificent stage with scenic and electrical effects of the most modern type. The decorations on the ceiling are very fine, and the vaulting in the balconies is painted with pictures of the most interesting spots in North Wales. The floor is made of parquet and is laid on 2,500 springs. In fact, Titbits in a recent article dealing with famous ballrooms described this floor as one of the best in the world. That it is appreciated can be judged from the large number of dancers who flock there daily. Adjoining the ballroom are refreshment lounges, fully licensed. These are gorgeously decorated and brilliantly lighted with scores of electric lamps. See the emphasis on the electricity, which was a bit of something new in them days, of course. The roof gardens contain promenading for nearly a quarter of a mile under shady palms and various foliage plants. Here are summer houses to rest a while or drink afternoon tea while listening to the strains of the Palace Orchestra. It had its own orchestra. There are also ping-pong rooms close to the splendid marine balcony lounge, which occupies the west end of the building. The whole of the mural decorations have been most artistically carried out and have won the commendation of thousands who have patronised the palace. The arcade contains a large fountain. Provision is also made for performances by an orchestra and a minstrel troupe. There are about 40 commodious shops and offices, in addition to other business establishments at the West Parade and Sussex Street entrances. The arcade supplies a long-felt want. Prior to its being opened, there was no place to shelter in wet weather for the large number of visitors who flock to Rill. The arcade is brilliantly lighted by means of electric light, a special main having been laid from the Rill Council offices. Beneath the ballroom is Venice, which has attracted large crowds. Here is a representation of the Queen of Cities on a miniature scale. Real gondolas propelled by real Italians take the visitors around the canals and in and out of the arches in truly Venetian fashion. Close to the entrance to Venice is the electric passenger lift to the recently completed Great Tower, from the crow's nest of which structure a view of some 100 miles radius is obtainable. On the roof there are gardens laid out which will be reserved for the use of guests staying at the hotel. The Queen's Hotel has been rebuilt and is now complete and ready for visitors. It is one of the most comfortable and luxurious furnished hotels in Wales. The grand central entrance opens from the promenade by means of a draft-preventing door, and the walls are decorated with the finest encaustic tiles and glazed faience work. There is a very fine billiard room on the ground floor, which is fitted with splendid tables, and every convenience is provided for the comfort of the patrons. With the cafe, which has a second entrance from the arcade, the floor space is 75 foot by 46 foot. It is magnificently decorated and fitted with a silver grille. The whole of the arrangement have been carried out on the most modern principles, and the cafe is one of the best rooms in North Wales for dinner parties, assemblies, etc. The room is lofty and well ventilated and lighted by electricity. They don't have to give the electricity a bit of it. The domestic arrangements are of the most complete character, and from the cafe there are lifts connecting with the kitchens, which are situated in the upper stories of the hotel. Below the cafe there are huge coal stores, wine cellars and lavatories, arranged after carefully prepared plans and in accordance with the modern hotel requirements. A staircase leads from the ground floor to the Grand Central Lounge, which is 65 foot by 31 foot and decorated in the best continental style. Private suites of rooms are provided for families, and there are a large number of bedrooms for use of other visitors to the hotel. Special attention has been paid to the demands of a family and commercial hotel, and excellent stockrooms are being provided. From the lounge there is an entrance to the magnificent coffee room, in which there is a collection of oak furniture which has been purchased at very considerable expense. The spacious room is a most valuable addition to the hotel. Running the whole length of the company's premises is a fine marine balcony overlooking the promenade and the sea. Rowe is yearly increasing in popularity, and the enormous new railway station and its mile of platforms will be none too large to cope with the increase in traffic anticipated next season, especially seeing the Royal Welsh National Eisteddfod, under the patronage of His Majesty King Edward VIII, is to be held at Rowe at the end of the West Parade, on which the Queen's Palace is situate. A jetty is about to be built in order to open up steamboat communication. Rowe is the first stopping place on the North Wales coast for through express trains from London, Manchester, North Staffordshire, Birmingham and Yorkshire, etc. So that's their own advertisement. We do have a couple of odds and ends which I brought with me. This is their plan that I showed you a picture of on there, which is, like I said, a total mystery, because it makes no sense at all that according to this, the ballroom is right there, near the front of the building. And this big building that was the market, which has got the ballroom ceiling and the balconies in it, was the arcade, according to this. And this is their own, including pictures.
Is it dated?
Sorry?
Is it dated?
I think it was actually, but I can't find it quickly. I'll tell you after when I've had a good look. This is from the early days of it.
There was a swimming pool.
Pardon?
There was a swimming pool.
The swimming pool still, the building that it's in still exists, totally modified, and is now from Glen Glasper, back to Sussex Street.
My mother used to swim in it.
Wow,
I'm mine.
that's interesting.
Well, she couldn't swim actually.
That's interesting.
I thought there was a swimming pool opposite the back entrance of the Queen's.
It is.
Which is now called
Peacocks.
Savers.
Peacocks. Peacocks, yes. Yeah, that was it. Yes, that was it. This is not swimming pool. Picture. You can pass it round if you like, because you couldn't see it on there, can you, very well. But that's a picture I've got of it. This magnificent picture. I'll pass that round. By all means, have a look at them. This doesn't do it justice, this thing at all, does it? This is a plan of it. When it was a skating rink, you can see the plan on the skating rink there. I think that was it. It also find well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of my talk. I'm not now going to be able to go back and continue with my paranormal investigation. But one wonders, when it's all gone and all the new buildings are built there, whether any remnants of the so-called paranormal remain in the area, and if they do, will I get a chance to do it? I'm getting a bit old now, so I hope they're able to get on with it. Anyway, I do hope you've enjoyed that little talk. I had a lot more pictures, by the way, but unfortunately couldn't get them into the computer in time because I'm still doing it while they're destroying the buildings. And when I went last time, they got all the cellars open that were underneath the front, and the Queen's Bar and the basement. Anyway, I do hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm sure that you all enjoyed that. It was interesting, entertaining, educational. I think I would describe that perhaps as the Victorian theme park, because it seemed to have everything in it. We want more today, of course. Well, perhaps we don't, but the people that go to theme parks do. But that's how I would describe it. So thank you, Gary. Really enjoyable.
Thank you very much.
My only story about hotels in Rowe, it was about 40 years ago, and I was looking for accommodation before I lived up this way, and the only place I could get in was the Grange. It was pre-booked, and I got there, and she said, "Oh, we haven't got a room." So I said, "Oh right, okay," and she had a chat with somebody in the room behind, and she came back, she said, "We have got a room." So she said, "It's room number so-and-so on the top floor." So up I went, and it was the bridal suite. 4-poster bed, the works, but God, was it freezing cold. So I went back down to reception, and I said, "Have you got an electric blanket or something?" She said, "What, in the bridal suite?" I said, I said, "I'm on my own." Now, next month, we hope to be here on Thursday the 13th of January, when our speaker will be Gary once again. If you enjoyed him this time, then you know what to expect next time.
There's only 2 of you there next time. You know what I've done.
He's going to talk about UFOs in North Wales, so goodness gracious what he'll bring next time. You know, he'll probably bring out a spaceship. So we look forward to that. Anyway, in the meantime, it just leaves me to extend season's greetings to you all on behalf of the History Society. And Nadolig Llawen a Blydden Dda. And Hayden will now lead us with the raffle. So over to Hayden.
Bumper Friday tonight.